Hey guys, Ash here coming at you today with another chat, and I'm joined by Drew Haycock, Community Manager Extraordinaire from Supercell Clash Royale. Drew, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey man, yeah, I'm doing all right, thank you. Yeah, it's good. Thanks for having me on your channel as well. Very
Of
cool.
course, man. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I've been hoping to get you on for a while now. We've had you on the channel before, like years ago, talking
Yeah,
really niche Clash Royale stuff. Today, obviously, we're going to touch a lot on Clash and your job at Supercell, but also a more broad conversation. I really have so many questions for you, and yeah, I'm very interested to see where this conversation goes. So, I introduced you as Community Manager Extraordinaire
yeah.
at Supercell. Is that your official job title? I guess that's a good first question. Do you consider yourself a community manager? Because I know what you guys do at Supercell. It's a lot more broad, I guess, in a sense, you know?
Yeah, I think it's a good question because when we get when we put out like a job description or something, like community manager isn't really what we do. It's kind of like I hate the term, but like jack of all trades. Like
Mm-hmm.
we do a lot of stuff. It's not just like social media posting or like talking to the game team. It's also like managing events, creating events. I do a lot of like video stuff as well, and then also you've got like a whole bunch of stuff like release plans, launch plans. We work quite closely with marketing, so it's a bit of everything. And I think the community manager role is kind of like in the industry siloed into this one position, and that isn't really what we do at Supercell. We kind of do everything. So
Are you on location in the Helsinki office? Are you working remotely, or is it a little bit of both?
yeah, a little bit of both. I'm in
Yeah.
my house at the moment, and I like tend to work remotely like most of the time, I guess. But if there's like updates or like important stuff, I try to go into the office like a couple of times a week, just because it's just easier to talk to people, especially when we have loads of meetings or we have our like weekly syncs and stuff like that. So yeah, but it's pretty cool. Like it's kind of flexible as well. Like you can like work at the office if you want, or you like don't have to, as long as like the lead is cool with it, then it's all good.
That's cool, man. I think I would work in the office because you guys, at least last time I visited, which has been years ago to be fair, you guys have a great chef, man. You guys got a great little kitchen there. So I think I would want to take advantage. I don't know if that's in operation
Yeah,
still,
no,
but
we've
you
got
know.
and we've actually like upgraded the office now to like
Ooh.
our full own office, whereas before we were just like two floors in like an office
Yes.
building.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got our own like cool Wood City office building now, and I think that's probably part of the reason why I think like 90% of the office
Still
is
work
like
there?
coming to work. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always curious in any line of work, but especially yours. What is, and I'm sure no 2 days are the same, but give us like a general rundown of what's a typical day for you. What does it look like?
Interesting. It's so varied actually.
Yeah.
But I'd say it usually starts off with like syncing with the rest of the team, like just seeing what everyone else is working on. We've actually just moved to a new structure within the team that's more like focused on like different teams within the overall game team, which is actually working out quite well. So
Oh,
those teams
cool.
will all sync together. Yeah, it's actually really cool. I don't know how much I can say about it if it's like, but
Top secret or
it's
not? Yeah. Is it
yeah,
like
but
a
it's what
test that you guys are doing, or is this the new way? Or you're not sure? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're kind of like having to we finally realized that like although our small team like thing is really cool, like it in 2023 that doesn't really work. So we're expanding the team size, and because of that, you kind of have to be more managed
Hmm.
within the teams. Before it's quite free flowing and easy because it was so small, but now we've got a bigger team. I think we have like 30 or 40 people now, like definitely closer to 40
Whoa.
people. Yeah, so that's like double
Wow.
since
Yeah, because
last
the
year or
original,
something. Yeah.
I mean, my impression of the original team was like around 15-ish, give or
Yeah,
take.
that was when I joined. It was around that, probably even less actually. Yeah,
Wow.
which is just it doesn't make sense. Like, and in this like
Right?
day and age, it really doesn't make sense to have a really small team. So we've been trying out this new structure. So yeah, so those like little mini teams sync together, and then usually I'll just like take care of any like urgent business like emails and all that boring fun stuff.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it usually if we're in update season like we are now, so like now is actually quite busy because we're like ramping up towards releasing the like new season stuff. So we just released the actual update the other day, and then now we have to uh kind of like promote it and make sure everything is cool and get feedback on stuff. And obviously with any new update release comes loads of bugs. If you're a Brawl Stars player, you know all about that. So yeah. And so we also have that to sort out. And I guess then it's just basically like just doing what needs to get done. Like it's kind of vague, but it changes every day. Like if it's a slower day, I can spend more time like online, like on social media, and like interacting with people, and even in like our like private channels with our creators, I can spend a lot more time in there, like talking to people, getting feedback and stuff. Or so yeah, it really depends. But at the moment, it's kind of like all hands on deck for the update and the new content like release. So
that makes sense. Man, as you were answering that question, like 8 other follow-ups popped up in my head all at once. But I kind of wanted to ask about like, okay, through your day, when you do have that extra time, obviously your job, I imagine part of your job is really staying in touch with the zeitgeist of the community, figuring out what people are talking about. I kind of want to jump right into it. Okay, so like Reddit, content creator, videos, Twitter, it seems like everybody's basically whether right or wrong, right? People seem to be complaining for the most part all the time, right? So is there I want to actually start from a constructive standpoint. Like if you're going to hear a complaint, if things are really bad, right? Like, and you're going to hear a complaint, and like someone's really upset, you know, what is the best way to actually get your attention in like, I say positive, but like actually getting them to solve something or take a hard look at something? What is the best mechanism or vehicle for anybody, whether they're just a regular player or, you know, a community member or whatever?
Yeah, I think in terms of like the community standpoint, I think like if you're just a regular player, maybe the best way is to contact support, because then support actually will get all the, I'm going to say the word data from from the tickets, and then they can actually like.
Do support really convey that appropriately though? Because you see all the memes of like, you know, weird responses or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because it's like, obviously if you get through to a bot, we're still getting those questions, right? So even if you get through to a bot that's like, you know, trying to solve your issue, we're still figuring out what the issue is, and we have all that information. So that's really good for like a, I don't know, like an average player. But I think if you want to get your point across, like to me directly, I think like I think the number one rule is to just not insult me at the same time. Like it's really like, I think that's like,
it's a pretty low barrier, unfortunately, has to be said though, right?
Yeah, it's like it's really odd, because you get people who they will give you really constructive feedback and it's really good, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, that's just because you're doing such a terrible job. And it's like, oh dude, why did you put that at the end? You could have, like, it was all good up until you did this like little dig at the end. It's just like sometimes it feels like people can't help themselves, or they don't see it as an issue, which is even worse. But yeah, I think as long as you're not like rude or whatever, like I will read your feedback. I don't care how negative it is. That's really cool, as long as it doesn't get to like weirdly personal, or just like, you know, attacking my teammates as well. It's like I'm kind of thick-skinned or whatever, but I think it kind of sucks when like people are just like, oh, the dev team are greedy and blah blah blah, and then they have a real genuine issue in there, and it's like, okay, you like, why don't you make 2 separate posts? One is like the feedback, and one is like your angry complaint. That would make it a bit more easy to digest, because it also makes you be like, I know it's not a great thing to say, but if somebody's like giving you abuse, you don't really want to help them as well, even though it's your job, like, because you're just like, man, like you could have done this in a nicer way. And I think there are so many other people that do put their feedback across in a really nice, constructive manner, that it makes you much more willing to help those people, even if the 2 people are having the same issue. You know what I mean? So
no, I mean that's good life advice for anybody who wants to promote change anywhere, right? Like
for sure. Yeah,
probably not start with you know, threats and insults. You know, probably not. You know,
exactly.
So do you feel? I imagine the answer is probably inevitably going to be yes, but obviously not to answer for you. do you feel sometimes trapped in between because you're the tip of the spear, you're talking to the community? I'm sure you don't personally agree with every decision. It's the nature of any job that they make,
Yeah.
but yet you're still the representative who has to get out there and be like, yes, we stand by this decision, even though you might internally be like, this is awful, don't do it, you know? So how challenging is that to have to voice your valid concerns when you don't like a decision internally, but still externally be the face of that decision?
I think it's probably the most difficult part of my job, to be honest. I think that's like it's actually the hardest part of my job for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's that feeling where you like so my job is to convey the information to the community and also then convey the community's information back to the game team. And whether I agree with the community or not, it doesn't matter. I've still got to give that information to the community. And whether I disagree with the game team or not, I've still got to give that information back. So I think like even with like some updates that I've been very vocally against, or some not updates like changes within the game
Yeah.
I've been vocally
Yeah.
against. The decision is made that we like we'll do that change, and it's like okay, cool. That's my job is to share that information, and yeah, being the like the spearhead or the figurehead, like you said, is really difficult because people like it's like I said, it's like a 40-person team now or something. I'm just one of those people, but everyone just focuses on you and thinks like you're the bad guy and all this stuff. And even if like behind the scenes, I'm like fighting really hard for the community.
That's gonna stink, man.
opinion.
Being like, guys, we shouldn't do this, and they're like, too bad, Drew. And now go
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
everybody about it. That's a tough one,
exactly,
man.
yeah. And
On
the
the
thing
flip
is, it's
side, I
like-
mean, like if you do
yeah.
something awesome, you get more credit than your average, person.
Exactly, like
you know?
people think I single-handedly
Yeah.
developed the game, which is amazing. Like I wish I was that talented. It's like,
Or sometimes you'll see a
that's
new
really fun.
employee like at Supercell, and like it just coincides with something good that happened. They're like, finally got somebody good in there, or vice
no,
versa,
dude, Exactly,
Yeah.
They're like, when that person joined the team, the game went downhill, and it's like that
Yeah.
was complete coincidence.
Yeah.
Like but yeah, and I think also the important thing is that I work with people who are a lot more smarter and a lot more experienced than me. So of course my opinion isn't always going to be right all the time. So and I have a lot of trust in all of my teammates. So if they think this decision is correct and we've talked about it as human beings, like I didn't go in and like start insulting their family and then give them the feedback. If I give them like the feedback and we work constructively towards it, and then they explain their thing and like it's like okay, cool, I totally understand. I'm totally cool with it. Like I think it's that kind of, you have to be quite mature in that sense. I guess like in any workplace, right? You can't just get your way the whole time. And I think if I did get my way the whole time, the game would probably have like made zero money and been killed. But it's like
Okay.
and also I have no game design skills, so it would also be a terrible mess. So it's good that we have these like differing voices, but I think it is hard to convey that correctly. Like, hey, yeah, we did hear your opinions and we have talked about them, but we just decided we didn't want to go to them, and that's the answer that some people don't like, which is understandable.
Yeah. So if they make a decision, if the game team makes a decision and you really don't like it, is it, I know like back in the day, maybe when you had really smaller teams, it was easier to have like a more democratic process, I guess. I don't know. But like, so how does that work internally? Is it still kind of the way that you guys work? In my impression are, these cells, hence Supercell, right? And these cells basically have autonomy to make most decisions all on their own for the game. And then everybody has, as equal as possible of a say. Eventually there has to be a decision made. Is it still that way? And especially as the team grows, is that a challenging model to have everybody be able to have an equal say in everything?
Yeah, I think even when it was a smaller team, it was still challenging, but even more so with the team size as it is now, what will usually happen is like a few people will go off and like I say, like I'm just spitballing here, but like like a couple of game designers will go off and they'll come up with an idea and they'll present it to the team, and then people can give feedback. Because kind of like putting 40 people in a room and being like, do a thing you all agree on is never going to happen. So we do have this kind of constructive, like open floor, I guess, where if somebody wants something in the game and they've like, made a whole deck around it and they've got like this really clear vision, then it's up to them to kind of convince everybody else. It's not like and if I'm just sitting there going like, nah, this won't work, this is bad, that's not good feedback from me, right? So I need to like give like constructive feedback, and then we'll work together. And I think that's how the team works with everybody. Everybody gives constructive feedback, and at the end of the day, if you're in the minority and you still don't agree with it, like there's not really much you can do if you want to have like a proper democratic kind of
Yeah.
process. And I think that's like part of that's like part of any job. But I think working in games, especially where there is no extreme hierarchy, like there isn't just one dude who's like the master game designer who like tells you what to do. um it it's a challenge, but it works really well because you know that your thoughts have been listened to. I think that's still how it works, and it's for now still working pretty good.
Do you see it as your job to convey not only your feedback, but also the feedback of the entire community at large? Like, do the other people on the team say, hey, Drew, Max, okay, like, what do you think about this presentation? And also, how do you think the entire community will respond? Like, do you feel that weight as well? How do you weigh your own personal beliefs on something versus the entire community that you're probably seeing the Reddits and the tweets and everything way more than everybody else on the team, like you and Max, Yeah.
I think that literally is it. Like it is up to me to convey that, and I think it's also important to. I'm kind of happy within the team we have individuals who are like more focused on like pro players or more the casual players and that kind of thing. But from my side, it's kind of just well, myself and Max, I think it's kind of good our views generally align with the community views anyway. So the points that we're getting across are very much informed by the community voice. But if it's something that I don't really agree with, but players really want it, I will still bring that up. But I will be like, hey, this hardcore group of people really want like XYZ, and then it's up to like the rest of the team to see how like not valuable, but how like I guess valuable is a better term. I can't think of a better word, but how valuable that is compared to doing something else that like 1 million people want or something, rather than like a core group like 1,000 or 2,000.
Totally understand. That's gotta be challenging, but I do have some follow-ups there. But I actually want to rewind a little bit because I want to go into like a more personal level, what things were like for you, especially during like, I don't even know how you would characterize it personally, but like the level 15 update, and like when things to me seemed the worst, So I want to rewind a little bit though, because I think to understand where you're at now and where you were then, you got to understand where you came from. And I want to ask you a little bit about like, I guess briefly, what is your gaming experience and what led you to even work at Supercell? You were originally the Boom Beach community manager, if I'm correct there.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. So I guess I've got to rewind now and go back to after I finished university. I did a degree in film. And I was like, I don't really want to go work in films. And then me and my mate, we had like a couple of months off after university where you just don't do anything. So at my university anyway, for some reason, the last semester or whatever, they just didn't have any classes. So me and my mate were like, cool, let's just play League of Legends all day and get drunk. So that was pretty good. And we actually sat down and like taught ourselves how to like code and make like a really bad point and click adventure. And it was really funny and stuff.
That's
but
cool,
then that kind of like kickstarted my desire, I guess, to move into gaming. So then I got a job at like a local I guess like shop records, it's not really record shop, but HMV in the UK, which is just like Saturday job, whatever. But I was working full-time there, and then I was also doing an internship, unpaid, good old days of unpaid internships. For like a little gaming company in London. I worked there for 6 months unpaid, and then I eventually got a job with a company called Bin Weevils. Shout out to the Bin Weevils fans. It's like a really like a kids online game, like
cool.
And I got in as just like the bottom rung player support, like customer service representative. And then I was from there I worked my way up to being like community manager and like player support. And then when I eventually joined Supercell, I was player support and community manager on Boom Beach, like a dual role. And then, so I've probably worked in the gaming industry about 11 years now. I think I've just had my 6th year at Supercell. So
wow, it feels like longer.
It feels like from the
Boom Beach days,
Yeah. It's mad that I even used to work on Boom Beach.
Right?
That's how long ago it feels. Yeah. And like I've been a gamer my whole life. Like I remember getting the N64 from my dad, like, because I've got two sisters, and like, so that was like our joint present for the Christmas that
Nice.
year. And
What
so
was
we
your
had
first game
GoldenEye.
for it? What was the first game
Yeah,
you?
GoldenEye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
and then it was really cool. Actually, this is like a cool memory unlocked. Like my dad was like, "Oh yeah, one more thing," and then he brought out Ocarina of Time, and we were all like, "Oh my god!" Yeah, so that
Ooh.
was really rad. And
I
then
never
like,
played Ocarina of Time. Is that weird? Is
oh
that
man,
weird to admit?
that's very weird. Yeah, I can't believe you admitted that in public,
I
man.
know, right? Well, the thing is, man, is like I'm playing. I've been pretty vocal about it, but I've been playing. We just beat Tears of the Kingdom, my son and I. Right?
That's so rad.
It
Yeah,
was awesome because I know it's like whatever, it's kind of corny or whatever, but like it's our first big game that we played from start to finish every minute together, you know? And it's like it felt like such a journey because the game's so epic anyway.
yeah, that's so
But
cool.
I had not played any of the previous Zeldas outside of like Link to the Past. Like that was when I retired my Zelda. So now we're working backwards. We're about halfway through Breath of the Wild right now. So eventually we'll get to Ocarina.
Oh man,
but
that's so cool.
yeah, man, I loved it. But yeah, N64, that was a game changer, man, when that came out. Like it was,
Yeah.
I remember GoldenEye. I don't know about you, but like getting together with three friends and just playing all hours of the night, you know?
Yeah,
And
I had some mates in my neighborhood that we used to go around their house, and we'd have like the 4-player like games. It was so much fun.
yes.
Yeah, and like
The good
I
old days.
yeah, exactly. I played on like PC games before that, like because my dad like used to make his own PCs and used to play like loads of random games. So
Like King's
I've always
Quest,
been
like Sierra days, or like what kind of games do
yeah,
you play?
Sierra days. My dad
Yeah.
used to play like I just remember these like really old games, like it was like some Gulf War tank commander thing from Sierra. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like
yeah.
just random stuff like that. And obviously like I didn't have a Mega Drive, but my rich best friend had a Mega Drive growing up.
Everybody's
so that
rich
was
best
cool.
friend had one. Mine, I had the same situation. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was great, man. So I used to go around
Yeah.
his and play like Batman and Alien and
Cool.
stuff like that. So yeah, and then just been a gamer ever since basically. So I think I just kind of willed myself into the industry just through like sheer passion and hard work as well, because
Yeah.
it had to be a bit of time in, but yeah.
You apply to Supercell, you eventually get the job or whatever. So you're on Boom Beach all of a sudden. I imagine, like, I'm not asking you to talk smack about Boom Beach or any Supercell game, but I imagine like you weren't passionate about Boom Beach specifically before joining the team. Do you feel like to be a good community manager, you have to like be super passionate about the game or just super passionate about the community?
Yeah, I think it's important to be passionate about the game. Like I'd played Clash of Clans and Boom Beach and Heyday actually before joining Supercell. I played Clash of Clans more, and like Boom Beach, I kind of like I'd played it just for like a little while, but I really enjoyed it. So it was kind of like I think you had to get in. You do have to enjoy the game that you're working on. It's like impossible not to otherwise. I feel personally anyway. I think there's so many games out there. Like why wouldn't you work for a game that you like? I think it'd be kind of weird if you. I really did enjoy Boom Beach, and it was at the time it was like infinitely bigger than the game I'd previously worked on, and it was like a complete like I had to manage like teams of people like for the player support side and like teams of community managers, and I was like, whoa, this is like the real deal, man. Like this is like big. This is what like millions of players looks like. This is like really like wild,
right? Was it I guess it's a good it was part I go ahead, finish your thought there. You think
I was just gonna say I think that I forgot what I was gonna say now.
Darn it. I'm such a great interviewer, Drew. I was gonna so like in a way though that probably made a great I don't want to say training ground, but a great like step in, because when you joined, Clash Royale was the biggest one of the bigger games in the world, you know, like it had millions and millions of daily active players and downloads and everything. And let me ask you this selfishly: how does your relationship with content creators evolve throughout your career at Supercell? Because I imagine beginning, I mean, you only had a few. Well, I guess you probably had more than a few. You probably had like, you know, a decent little crew of content creators for Boom Beach. But then you went to Clash Royale where there were like hundreds literally of creators. Obviously, you can't watch every video of everybody, first of all. And you can't talk to and have like deep relationships with 150 people. How does that evolve, that part of it?
It's actually quite difficult, I guess, because when I first joined, I was like in awe of the. I guess I'll go from Clash Royale because it's a bit easier. But like when I first joined the Clash Royale team, like I was working with these content creators who I'd like watched myself and was kind of a bit in awe. And I was like, oh man, I'm like, it was a weird power dynamic, I guess, because it's like it felt like I was, always like trying to do what they wanted and be like, oh, I've got to please the content creators. And then but they also have that, like at least the smaller ones have that kind of opinion towards Supercell as well. Like, they're like, oh man, like it's such a
Yes.
privilege to be here,
Yes.
and they'll like treat you like really well and really nicely, and it's like great vibes. Like everyone's in the zone, like really happy and really pumped to be working with each other, and that was really cool. But yeah, it did take me a while to get used to like telling someone who's like infinitely more not famous, but like influential than me, I guess, in a way. Like if me telling OJ like stuff, like he knows way more about Clash Royale than I did at the time, and probably still does actually. He knows way more than Clash Royale than me. So telling like OJ stuff, I kind of would always feel like a bit like nervous, like, oh man, I feel like so dumb, like telling this dude who obviously knows what he's doing. Like, but then he's such a nice dude as well that it works out fine. But I think with that's a hurdle you've got to get over when coming into like an established game, I reckon.
Yeah. Do you feel like the coverage of Supercell games by content creators has been overall fair?
Yeah, overall, definitely. I think so. Like, yeah, I think.
Where do you draw that line of unfair? Like, I mean, it could be personal with me, or it could be, obviously, I'm not expecting you to name names or anything, but like if somebody, do you see a line, have lines been crossed in your own opinion, with how we cover the games?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think with the level 15 thing, especially, like, it really bothered me, and I think the line was crossed when people start getting like personal and like attacking the dev team and attacking myself or whatever, like saying that the dev team don't care, the dev team do XYZ. And it's the reason it crosses the line for me, at least, is because it feels fake, because they're literally in a chat with myself and the dev team, and instead of telling us these things, they're like broadcasting it to the world, and some of it just isn't true as well. Like, oh, they don't listen, blah blah. It's like, dude, we had like a 1.5 hour presentation with everybody. Like, we showed you all this stuff beforehand. We had huge discussions with you. So for people to say like online, like, yeah, they didn't listen, that bothers me. And I think that's when the line gets crossed, that it's like, it's not fair, and it's not even fair for your viewers, because you're literally lying to them and saying that we don't listen and stuff. It's like, I'm totally cool if you hate the update, and that's fine. Like, that's totally your opinion, and it's in most cases, like when people are upset about things, it is like valid opinions and concerns. But it does bother me when this kind of like fake persona comes out, that blaming the dev team and blaming individuals. I think that's not cool, and that's where the line gets crossed for me, at least.
You definitely see, and I mean, in a I don't want to compare, because I've never been a community manager. Actually, I have, but it was a long time ago, and for a small game. But I don't want to draw a direct correlation, but in a way, creators are in a similar boat to you, in a way, right? Is like, we hear every day, all day from our community. We get flack for not sticking up to Supercell, or being a shill for Supercell, or not conveying their complaints to Supercell appropriately, or like, even if we don't say anything, we'll get hated. Like, OJ didn't make enough complaint videos, and now he's got Reddit hate posts, like, it's like, if you're not actively hating with all your might, then you're gonna get
shill, and
then you're gonna get brought down by the community. So that creates this weird dichotomy of, like, in a very awkward way, the easiest, and I've talked about this before, the easiest thing to do as a creator is hate on the game, but yet you get the most credit for hating on the game, like, so if I go out and I'll be like, Clash Royale is the worst game ever and the team sucks so bad, people would be like, because I've experienced, like, anytime I would be critical, you get this massive flood of love from the community,
it's
so
wild,
even if you have the utmost ethical standards and are aware of this, it still subconsciously gets to you, where it's just like, wow, I know that I can make 1 million people love me in a second by just saying this. And it's like, it's very hard to combat that, because the crazy thing is, and I've said this before too, and it's weird to say, but it's so true, is that, like, if I go out there and say, hey, I like this unpopular thing in Clash Royale, or any game for that matter, I'll get so much hate but that's when I deserve the credit for speaking my mind and actually, because like I
Yeah,
know I'm gonna get a flood of
I
like
know.
everything, but yet it's
Yeah,
reversed. If you say something bad, everybody's like, props to you for
yeah,
speaking your
like you're
mind.
so brave for
Yeah, and it's like,
saying
no,
the
that's not
bad thing, and
brave.
it's
That's
like
the easiest thing because I know that Supercell
exactly,
won't say anything to me or any creator. Uh,
exactly, yeah.
but you
That,
guys
dude,
will.
that's
Yeah,
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 that's spot on. Like I had a chat with Ian77 the other
yeah,
day, and we said the exact thing. Like somebody in his comments was like, because I was reading through his comments, and they were like, "Oh, you're so lame how you didn't like just be really mean to Drew and do all this stuff." And Ian's like, "What are you talking about, man? Like, why would I do like why would I do that?" It's like, I was talking to him afterwards, and I was just like, "Dude, like don't listen to that stuff. Like, it's so much like more brave to put out positive content, and if you're being genuine as well, then what's the problem with it? Like, if you like the game, you like the game. Like, you can't just make this kind of like hate bait kind of stuff that just gets you views because
yeah,
it's just and I think it's a lot harder. And I said like thank you to him especially because it's a lot harder to make, like you just said, make positive content around a game when your fan base is not happy and they're kind of like they know that you have a direct line to the game developer, so they really want you to like use that line to convey their complaints. And it's like if you're not 100% slamming Supercell all the time, you're a bad guy. And it's like, that's not how it works, and that's also not how it should work. I think it's really negative. Like, I don't know why you would want to create that content as well. Like, it feels like it would just have a really bad negative effect on your health as well and your like
yeah.
views. But yeah,
Well,
but
I think
I
it's
agree with everything you said. Yeah,
I think it's part of that intoxicating, like all the love that you get from your
that's
hate
true. Yep,
awkwardly makes
yep.
it seem like, and I mean, I don't know if you have any thoughts on how I covered things like in that time period, but I kind of felt it, like, just to be totally real, man, like I felt it kind of getting to me a bit, where I
Yeah,
always tried to thread that needle of, I want to report on what other people are saying,
yep.
but it's impossible not to notice that, like, the more I cover people who are angry, even if I'm just echoing their opinions, the more I'm creating this cesspool of negativity, and
Yeah,
it's difficult. It's sometimes it really
yeah.
takes a lot of
And
internal kind of fortitude to just
yeah, for
pause and be
sure.
like, I'm not
Especially because
sure,
you'll
yeah.
be getting more views as well. And like
Yes,
obviously
yes.
that's
Yeah.
that's like it's like a direct link between, I guess selling out. Like if you want to sell out, like you would just turn your channel into a hate channel.
Yes.
And I think that's fine. You'll be making money and getting popular, but you'll also have this like terrible moral kind of like conflict where you are just like a breeding this kind of like toxic playground, which
Well,
isn't the best. But
unfortunately,
yeah.
and I don't need to tell you this, but unfortunately, this is the state of media in general, right? It's
Yeah,
like, and
absolutely.
it's
Yeah.
really sucks, man. You like go
Yeah.
say something positive about anything out there nowadays, and you're
Yeah.
gonna get hated on no matter what it is. Like,
Exactly.
I love peanut butter sandwiches. I'm like, oh, if you would say that, you idiot, like whatever the hell,
Yeah, yeah.
like it
What
doesn't
about the
matter.
people with peanut butter allergies?
Yeah, yeah,
Did you
yeah,
think
yeah.
about
You'll
them?
get
And it's like, oh
canceled. The
yeah.
peanut butter allergies. It's awful, man.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so all that said, though, I gotta be real too. Like, it's weird with you and Max, and I don't want you to speak for Max, so like I just stick it to you. But like,
Yeah.
I feel like, frankly, in the beginning, maybe it was Clash Royale time period. Maybe it was. I'm not sure if I have my time right, but like, to me, you seemed early on pretty like defensive at times, just to be honest about it. Like a few occasions, I don't remember exactly, but a few occasions where you're like kind of snippy, and I'm like, dude, in my head, I was thinking, first of all, I can't imagine what it's like getting hated on all day, every day,
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, YouTube, I cannot read the comments, but it's your job to read the damn comments. It's like, that's very
Yeah.
tough. That's very tough,
Yeah.
But so I can understand where you would probably, in the mental state you might have been in, but I could also understand how it probably only exasperates the problem, and it makes it even worse.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you were too defensive at any point, or maybe just like the way that you handle, community in general? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I actually I think after I made like a few comments before, basically my whole thing was I was just like, oh man, like people don't want me to have a filter. They don't want me to be this mouthpiece. So whatever, I'm just gonna act like a real human being and give
Yeah.
my opinion. And then people were like, oh, he's so defensive. And it's like, no, I'm just like responding to you and combating your points. I think that was the thing. It was like I was just sick and tired of people like misinterpreting what I'd said. And so I was like, no, I actually said this, and then people take that as like a defensive stance and stuff. And yeah, I was a bit sarcastic and whatever. And I think like over tweets especially is like not
Yeah.
not a great place for nuance. But yeah, I think that I actually did. I had a one-to-one chat with Ryan, who's my lead, my
Yep.
community lead, Mr. Ryan Lighton from Brawl
Yep.
Stars, and yeah, and I was like, oh, dude, like I made these posts, and I'm going to explain to you why I made them and my thinking, because I was like internally like, should I have done that? Shouldn't I have done that? But I was like, from a community manager perspective, I just want to be like, keep it real and be like, okay, like you want a real human being. This is me being real, and I'm going to talk to you like one, and I will obviously try and not be disrespectful in any way. I don't think like, or be insulting and stuff like that. So, but it does just come across as like, oh, he's doesn't understand the community. He's just being rude. He's so defensive. Blah blah blah. And I think that's and Ryan was like, no, like we talked about it, and it was like a really cool discussion of just like, at the end of the day, it just comes down to like what I think is best as well. And I think that sometimes it can be good. I don't regret making some of those things. I think me, when I make comments and then they get misconstrued or taken out of context, like the whole data thing and the whole like poll thing, like it got completely taken out of context, and everyone's like, Drew made a poll and it said 8% of players. I'm like, I didn't make a poll, and I didn't say that. I just was using it as an example. But yeah,
Got you,
as you can see, that obviously triggered me.
Yeah, right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
But it's that kind of thing where you're then if I have to defend that, that's when it seems like I'm defensive, and I'm just like trying to explain what it is. And even when I did my interview with you way back when with Clan Wars 2, everyone was like, wow, he's so arrogant and so hostile towards Ash. And I was like, where the hell are these people getting these ideas from, man? It was like,
well, I certainly never had that takeaway, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like some people just had this agenda and they'll push it. I think I didn't help myself in some cases, for sure. I agree there, but I'm also, I think, unless you do want me just to be a corporate mouthpiece, like you should expect these kind of engagements and discussions. But
I think that, I mean, far be it from me to give you advice. You've been doing it a billion times longer, but I think that the biggest thing, that the most successful approach I've seen is when, and now I feel like you do this a lot. You probably did this a lot back in the day too, but like, I feel like people want to be heard more than anything, So like, and I'm sure you've experienced this numerous times of someone coming at you aggressively. You actually respond to them, hear them out, and they're like, oh, thank you. Like, I'm sure there's some people who actually just appreciate being heard,
Yeah.
So it's hard to do that for everybody, obviously, when there's thousands of people. But like, how bad were things? How bad did things get internally? Whatever you're comfortable sharing on.
Internally, do you mean internally in my brain or in the company? Like,
I actually mean both, but let's start with the company, like the team. I heard, from no one directly on the team, but I heard whispers, how like whatever, like rumors, right? I heard that things were like kind of divided in that time too, contentious or whatever, about like, just, it was like, I mean, I'm biased too. I was in the community, but like, it seemed like it was the biggest bad time, for lack of a better description, that a game has experienced necessarily in terms of blowback. I mean, every tweet was just hundreds of hateful from Clash Royale, hundreds of hateful responses for a long time. I think the sustained amount of negativity
still going.
Still going. So so I ask, like, how did that affect the team?
I think it affected us in two ways. Like the first, I'll get rid of, like, obviously it was very negative, like everybody on the team who, obviously there's a lot of people on the team who aren't like completely in touch with the community all the time, and so they were like really shocked to see this like instant big backlash, and I kind of took it on, actually myself and Max, we were like, okay, we've done a bad job of really explaining to the team like the community feelings. So I actually made a whole presentation for the team in like April, I think. So it was like a couple of weeks after the update came out. It was like, hey, look, these are all the pain points, these are all the bad things we did, blah blah blah, what can we do to change this in the future? So we had this really negative impact of like, everybody felt bad, right? Like nobody wants to see their entire player base hate them. That just sucks, right? And it sucks for people who are just like genuinely so nice and passionate about the game, and they feel really personally hurt by it because they feel like they've let down the players, and they feel like that they've done a bad job in that, and I think that's pretty much what all the team felt, to be honest. And I think then that also led onto the like more positive side of things, which was, it was like, okay, we do need to change some stuff. We do need to change things and do things better. And then we released the second update, which also wasn't great for players. And I think that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for some people, where it was like, well, me, I'll just talk about me. For me,
Yeah.
I was like, man, this sucks. I was like, we've just done the same thing again. Like, why have we done this? Like, blah, blah, blah. And like, I think that was like a catalyst to be like, okay, we actually can't keep doing this anymore, because this is not okay. Like, this, read the comments for like 6 months are just hating the game, and like, stuff like that is not good for anybody. And I think that has kind of changed our viewpoint within the team a lot. Like, just like, hey, we do need to do better for players. We need to put players first, and that's what we're like progressing towards with our next like few updates and the next year and stuff. So it was bad and good, I think, but you need to get rid of the bad first, because if we didn't have that backlash from the community, we would never have known, So
Yeah. Is there like one or two things that pops out as like, okay, this was a big mistake, or this is a big regret, whether that to be like developmental decision, like about the game or communications, or is there something that clearly now you're like, okay, we shouldn't have done it this way or whatever?
Yeah, the communications part, there was some stuff that, like, with the team changing and the team growing, stuff got left out. Like, we weren't aware of some things until the very end. I think my biggest regret is the like masteries for gems thing. I think it sucks that we basically, we shouldn't have put that many gems in the game in the first place, right? That's the issue here, and it's like, that's not the player's fault.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't care. Like, if I'm a player, like, that's not my fault that you guys messed up and put that much currency in the game or whatever. And so I think that sucks. We also found that out, like, by we, I mean myself and Max found that out like with
Late in
little
the
to no
cycle.
time.
Yeah.
Very, very late in the cycle. And I think that sucks, because then we couldn't prepare anybody for it properly. And I think that's what sucks, because it's like, if a change is coming that's negative, or that isn't, we know it is not going to be well received, even if it is a good change. I'm not saying it is a good change, being very political there, but yeah, then you have to give the players time to adapt and adjust. And I think that was one of the times that's a really prime example of what we messed up with, both from the player side and from the community communication side.
This is a challenging one. I don't think I've ever spoken to a Supercell employee ever about this. I don't even know if it's a taboo topic, honestly, Drew, but like,
probably is. I'll let you know if it is.
I don't know how much you can say about monetization, but I feel like it's an important topic nonetheless. And that is because, like, listen, I think everybody, even the biggest haters out there, will acknowledge that you're a business, you need to make money, etc.
Oh no, they won't.
So
we can tell you they won't.
Yeah. So how much of a tug of war is that? Is there, like, do you have like a monetization officer who's like, okay, guys, we need to make this amount of money. How are we going to make it happen? How much of your decision making in terms of updates and roadmap and everything is based on, bottom line goals, KPIs, numbers, like the business side of things? Like, how does that all work?
Are you saying data? How much is based on data? Yeah.
Trying to dance around the word.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
I don't want to trigger you.
But, yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, like a lot of it actually. Like, we used to have this. I guess the tug of war thing was more real at the beginning of the year. Now we kind of changed the way we're going. But before, it was like, okay, we have like monetization thing and a player fun thing, and for some reason we just didn't do the player fun thing, just did the monetization thing.
Gotcha.
And that was like, that sucks, and that sucks for everybody, and everybody agrees that sucks, and that's never going to happen going forward. Like, and yeah, of course we are a business and we have goals to meet and money to make, and I think everybody knows that, but I also think it should be done correctly and not in like a scummy way. I'm a gamer myself. Pretty much everyone on the team is a gamer of all different types. I'm a pretty hardcore gamer, and if a game puts like bad monetization, like money grabbing stuff in, I will not play it. So, or I like, will not. I'll take a break from it and come back like later and stuff. And I think that's very important. I think that, like, obviously the goal of every business is to make money, but also the goal of every game should be to like give fun stuff to players. and let them have fun with the game. So it's kind of like that tug of war does exist, but I think now we're kind of more uh, it's less of a tug of war and more like a how can we make these two work really well together. And also for the people, I think the thing is with a free to play game as well, you need to service all of the players that don't actually pay, so you need to give them a good experience at the same time. And I think that's kind of tough in some ways, and I'm glad that I don't need to deal with that. Like you said,
Yeah.
there is like we do have like a business team and like monetization team and whatever, and they handle all that stuff. But obviously at some point, like if a game designer's like, I've got this really cool idea, the question does actually have to come at some point, like, okay, well, that's a great idea, but how do we make money off it? And it's like, that's just a fact of life. Like no business in the history of the world would just put out like a product that loses them money. Like,
Yeah, I guess
know.
in these games though, there's also the counter. It's not even a counter argument because I think you'd acknowledge this too. But like, if you can increase the life cycle of player retention, inevitably there's going to come more income. So there's always that like, okay, immediate monetary gain versus
the
if we can keep
lifetime
them,
value.
yeah, if we can give them enough freebies right now, cool stuff right now, maybe they'll play for another 2 or 3 years and ergo spend more money in the long run. So it's got to be, but that's tough to project, you know, like it's tough to be a designer to give the presentation and be like, oh, and we'll make money some way down the line, you know, because people will like
Exactly.
it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think that's actually quite a problem that like
yeah.
a lot of beta games have actually, because like the goal is first of all to make a really like kick-ass game that's amazing, and then the monetization comes second. But then it's like not always easy to put that in afterwards, you know what I mean? So it kind of has to be thought of like throughout the process. And yeah, I totally agree. Like the like it's like you want a lifelong fan of your game. Like I know this sounds horrible and like icky, but like, you know, you want a lifetime fan because they will over their life give you more money. I guess like for myself, I'm a huge Blizzard fan, and like even though I went off them with like the whole like Overwatch thing and the whole like allegations and all that, I stopped buying their games completely. But now they've like won me back, and I'm playing like Warcraft Rumble, Diablo 4.
What do you think about Warcraft Rumble? What do you think about that?
I love it, dude. It's so good.
Cool.
I'm like,
cool.
I play it so much. Like, I'm so hyped that it's coming out for global.
Yeah, in like a week or soon.
November 2nd, I think, or November 3rd, maybe. Yeah.
It's,
not that it's in my calendar or anything. It's great, man. I think it's fantastic. But back to the point. I think it is. I think just the whole like squeezing people for money is just a bad business practice in general. So it's not something that we like would consciously aim to do at any point, because as I say, it's bad business. Even though that's like horrible words to say, but you know.
No, I think it's reality too, and sometimes it's just good to be real too. At the end, I think that's what people want is the real. Like ultimately, because if you came on here and said, "No, we don't care about money, Ash. Like we just want to make a great game," people would just call BS. So I think it's good to be real.
Yeah, we do want to make a great game as well.
Yes,
but
no, I know.
In this current climate, but I mean, like in this current climate, that also means having good monetization. You know, like because that's how games work nowadays. It isn't just like a, $29.99 game you pick up and then play it forever. Like
indeed.
It's all like games as services nowadays. So, and I think that's a thing a lot of gaming companies are struggling with. Actually, is getting this kind of like everything wants to be as like a live game service or. And I think that's biting some companies in the arse basically. So
going back to like my final question on everything in terms of the the last update and whatnot, or the one previous to that is so you personally, like full transparency, when I reached out to Drew initially, you're like, I'm going through, I don't want to misquote you, but like you were going through a tough time or a challenging time or whatever, and you're like, I just need a little bit more time, so I mean, I can be real. I've been doing YouTube for 10 years, and the negative, the most crass, not just the you sucks, but like the real bad stuff, the threats, the really hurtful stuff. Like that's very tough for even the thickest skin individual. If you're getting that on a consistent basis, it's very tough to let that go. That's why I don't read many comments anymore, because I'm just not,
it weighs you down, man.
It does. It really truly does, man. It's just like, it's tough, Anyway, how have you done personally with it all? Like how bad was it for you?
Yeah, like I mean, I'm pretty open about my mental health and stuff. Anyways, like I suffer from like depression and anxiety and stuff, and I think So obviously I'm in a great role
Yeah, right.
for that.
They really
Yeah,
threw you in there, Drew. They took care of you.
yeah, so yeah, and it's like I think you have to always realize there's somebody on the end of the screen, and I think it like sucks. Like I think like I kind of make a joke out of it now, but it does like affect you in a big way if it happens constantly. But like I was out with my girlfriend, and I think we were on holiday or something. I was just reading some tweets, and it was like all these nice ones, and this guy being like, "I hope you fucking die" or whatever, and I'm like, "Whoa!" Oh, sorry for swearing, by the way. You can bleep that
It's
out.
okay as long
But
as you guys are cool with swearing
image.
now on your.
Yeah,
On
we
your,
are.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm good.
So yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's like, and I'll just be like, "Oh man, look at this tweet that somebody sent me," and my girlfriend's like, "Oh, that's so horrible," blah blah. And I'm like, it's like fine, you know, and it's not fine, but I've kind of like desensitized to it in a way, and like those kind of things are like dumb, and like people saying. Like, yeah, I had this dude like follow me on Instagram who would like constantly like send me DMs with different accounts that like saying he was going to kill my dog and he knew where I live and like posted my address and wrote to me and like all these finished stuff. And I was like, do I need to contact the police about this guy? Like, this is
dude, it's
genuinely
like,
scary.
Yeah,
like that type of thing sucks and it's really like heavy. And I think there's that you got to like, it's hard to navigate, I think, because also when I'm really invested in the game, I think with the level 15 update to bring it back to the career kind of stuff, like I'm really invested in Clash Royale, and I love Clash Royale, and I love Supercell, and I love the community, and I'm super passionate about it, and that it gets me really down when people think I'm like this horrible person who only wants to like make money and I only want to kill the game and all this stuff, and that really affects me because that's like I guess it's my fault for getting so passionate about my job. You know, people are always like, your job is not your life, whatever. And I'm like, no, I want my job to be my life. You know, I love my job, basically.
love
It's
what you
like,
do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I love what I do. Like, why would I be doing it otherwise? And so I think that when it gets personal like that, that really sucks, especially when you don't really have if I do respond, it does seem like I'm being defensive and stuff. And in some cases I am being defensive because it's like, yeah, I do really enjoy my job and I do love the players and I do want to do best for the players, and I think it's kind of having this people with this different vision of you that you can't change, that sucks a lot, and that can get quite heavy because you're like, man, like I am a nice guy. Like I want to be like I can't show you that kind of thing, and that does get you down because there's this kind of like false perception of you going around that you just can't change, so you have to kind of adjust your mentality to be like, okay, some people just think like that. That's cool. I will deal with that. Yeah, but it is quite tough. Like especially if I'm just like having a bad week or whatever in general. Like if I'm just in a hole and I can't get out of it and I'm really depressed, then working isn't exactly the easiest thing. Especially if it's like a lot of, you know, if you've got personal stuff going on at the same time and that feeds into your personal stuff, it's not the best. But
no,
it is what it is.
And there's no way to convey. Like I hate to. It's tough because I'm not asking for people to have sympathy for celebrities and whatever, but like you get a little taste of what it must be like to just be publicly hated on all the time. Constantly, right? Like, because it just, I mean, there's no way to convey this. I've gone through a couple moments in my last decade of talking on YouTube every day that people didn't like what I had to say. And,
I'm sure. And on YouTube? Oh my God.
Right? And like, there's just I just have to, and I can imagine for you it was more acute, but it's there's just no words to appropriately articulate how awful it is when there's floods of just hundreds of people hating on you seemingly all the time. It doesn't just saying it like that doesn't give it justice to the mental, how it can really weigh you down. It's not like somebody making a mean comment on your Instagram or anything like that. It's like this flood, it makes you question, to your point, like, am I a good person? Like, after a while, you just start to like, it has an effect on you, you know? I don't know. It's tough to say, but it's
totally.
Yeah. I'll never even hate on a celeb anymore, Drew, because like, I just don't want to ever be a part of anything. Cause it's like, people are people ultimately, you know, they're people, you know?
Yeah. I used to, and I get it. I used to be a proper arsehole online and just like, I don't care what I talk about. And then, like, you know, as I've matured and stuff, obviously, I'm like, oh man, like everyone online like has these feelings. I think now that we're in a kind of generation where everything is more online based, it's even more important to get across like, hey, you can't say that stuff to people. Like, don't say something to somebody that you wouldn't say to them in real life. And if you would say that to them in real life, you're not a nice person.
Yeah,
So,
but that's true.
yeah,
That's so true, man. That's so true. And just like, I don't understand what change people are hoping to promote by doing that, you know?
yeah. And obviously, like, yeah, some people just, and this is something I had to get to grips with, is you can't, like, some people are just, it doesn't matter what you say to them,
Yeah,
they're just gonna hate you anyway. And it's like,
true.
that's cool. I'm at peace with that, whatever, that's fine.
True. So do you think this is becoming a problem or a bigger problem than when you started? Like, even taking off your
Yeah.
Supercell hat, your Clash Royale hat, just as a community manager for a game developer, do you think this is it's getting out of control? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, dude, it's absolutely getting out of control. It's actually like my least favorite part of the, I guess, social world, or like the gaming industry and like the internet in general, is just like how people are so quick to like turn on each other. And like, especially like a developer, like, I'm trying to think, I'm saying like a lot because I'm trying to articulate my thoughts, sorry. Yeah, it's rough. I'm trying to think of an example. I guess like when Baldur's Gate, like, actually that was it. I was reading on Twitter, like, I think he's like the product manager of Baldur's Gate 3 or whatever, and they haven't released on Xbox yet. And there were just a bunch of people going like crazy in the comments at this dude who's like, he's like, it's coming out on Xbox this year.
Yeah.
Like, what is your problem? Like, basically, it was just like, and they were just like, I can't believe that you're not going to release it on Xbox. This is a disgusting, like, all this stuff. And it's just like, what is wrong with you? Just like, chill out. Like, he's being really open and transparent, and people just immediately like leap to like the worst thing. They're like, you lied to us, you lied to your consumers, blah 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 blah. And it's just like, no, they didn't. Just chill out. Like, and also it's like, I hate saying this actually, because I hate when people say to me, but it's like, it is just a game. And I think like, just take a step back and think about what you're doing and what effect you're having on other people. Can you last another 2 months without this game? Yes. Okay, chill out. Like, I love Baldur's Gate 3. I waited for it for years and years and years. Like, I'm a big fan of the Baldur's Gate series. And when it was like this bug came out and it broke my save and all this stuff, and I was like, man, I will just wait until they fix it. And they fixed it. And and it was like, I wasn't like, oh my god, I need to direct all my rage at this programmer and this poor community manager who's like, has no, like, they're fixing it. They don't want, like, why do people think that Baldur's Gate 3 devs would purposefully break their game they've just released and then they just leave it like that? Like, it's just the steps that the jumps that people make is just, it's really weird. But yeah, it's a huge problem. People just say whatever. And I think the thing I really hate about Twitter is that, or X, sorry, Elon, is that it's given like a platform to people who like should not have platforms, or ordinarily would, like, you just wouldn't give them the time of day. Like, they'd just be some random person shouting at you on the street and you'd be like, what are you saying? Like, leave me alone. But instead now they get like thousands of engagements and stuff, and then people add weight behind that, and it validates their opinion, even if it's like a terrible one that 10 years ago would have been like not even listened to, and
every opinion, like, like, every opinion gets FaceTime or gets visibility. Absolutely. And everybody has an opinion on everything, it's just like,
it's like the peanut butter thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, the next question is going to be, the obvious follow-up is going to be impossible to answer. It was going to be like, how do you change things for the better?
I think just like promoting positivity yourself, I think is like, and you do that loads, man. Right? I love it, man. I think it's like, when I read your tweets about like, hey, take some time out of your day to like talk to someone and tell them something nice, like, just like, stuff like that, and it really does make a difference. I think, like,
it's tough, man, because no one wants to hear that. They want to hear complaining, but
exactly,
it's true. But you'll be happier. People who embrace that mindset will be at least happier themselves,
Yeah, and that's all you can do. Like, you can't put the weight of the world on just you. Like, you can do as much as you can to make it a better place, but overall, there are some things that are going to be out of your control no matter what, but there's stuff that you can control, and that is yourself and like the message you spread. And if you can keep that positive and keep the vibes good, and maybe even like get people who agree with you or change people's minds, I think that's super important, and like something that I really push for in pretty much every aspect of my life, is just to be, like, positive and kind to everybody, and hopefully that spreads and
That's
we can
all you
make
can
like
do, really. You know?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm
Yeah.
happy with myself because I can do that, and
Yeah.
that's all I can do. But
Uh, no,
yeah,
I completely agree with that mindset. Ultimately,
yeah,
that's all we have control over, right? Is our own
yeah,
actions and our own thoughts.
yeah.
Are you well, are you doing better? Are you doing a bit better like right now? How do you feel right now?
Uh,
I'm
I'm
sure
alright.
there's
I
every
think
day is different. I'm sure,
yeah,
like
it
yeah,
wasn't really related to Clash Royale stuff anyways. I was just going through like I
yeah,
guess when you have like depression, you kind of go in and out of like these slumps, and
yes,
sometimes
yeah,
I just get in a really, really bad slump and it takes like weeks to get out of it. So yeah, I'm coming out of it now. I think it's cool. Like just you just gotta like take some time to reorganize your brain. But yeah, I'm doing a bit better. Thank you, man. I
yeah.
appreciate
Of
you
course,
asking.
man. I mean, like, you know, we as creators obviously aren't going to agree with everything that any games take, any decisions that games take, and sometimes it can be frustrating when everybody's upset about something and it feels like, you know, no changes are being implemented, or the communication hasn't like it in the past.
Yeah,
It hasn't been there to the degree that we'd hope it to be. But at the same
yeah,
time, we also have met. Most of us have met you guys, have talked to you guys. So it's hard to convey to our audiences too that like, nah, these guys actually care, like
yeah,
no one really wants to hear that, but it's just like, yeah, just all it takes is one day at Supercell or whatever, or even meeting you guys at an event or something. And it's clear, like you could all talk for hours and do about like little niche things in the game and what you want to do and how excited you are for X, Y, or Z like coming to the game. So there's a lot of passion there. And it's like, that's the one thing that I've always disagreed with is saying that someone, to your point, that someone wants to kill the game or doesn't, or wants not the best for the game. That's tough because it's like, nah, that's definitely not the case.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I can sympathize with that as well. I
yeah,
think it's hard to get that across, especially like if you unless we literally did videos every single day of just talking to people at
yeah, right.
Supercell. But
Yeah,
no, but then it seems like not genuine and stuff. But yeah, I think that's a really good point to put across. But I also think that's why I always try and say to people as like a response when people say you're killing the game, and it's like, why would we do that? Like
yeah, it's your job,
it,
and yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
it's my job.
yeah.
And also like even if or on the most like basic negative level, if all I cared about was money, why would I kill the thing that makes me money? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Well, they're gonna give you a
it doesn't
bonus
even
for
it doesn't
killing the
make
game,
sense.
Drew. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
okay, so my final question. You've been super generous with your time here, so I'll let you go. But I want to
It's
ask you
been
about
really fun, man. Thanks.
all the new games, man. There's like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. I lose track in beta.
Yeah,
We got
me too.
Squad Busters. We got Moko.
Moko.
And then Clash Mini, obviously, and then Clash Quest is kind of TBD. I don't know. It's a mystery what's going on there in
Clash
Shanghai.
Heroes.
Clash
You
Heroes,
mean?
rather. Sorry,
Yeah,
yeah. It's a mystery what's going on there. Like I think I see some speculation on like hiring new team members. Maybe it's back, maybe it's dead. I don't know. So let me ask you, out of all these games, is there one that you naturally gravitate towards as like, wow, I'm really excited about this one? What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on all the new titles? Because obviously Supercell needs a new hit, kind of. It feels like
Yeah.
it's you're overdue, right? And it
Yeah,
seems
it's
like
been
you have
like
some
what,
viable candidates out
6
there.
maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how long Brawl Stars has been out, but it's been
God, it's like
way too
5
long,
years. Yeah,
basically.
it feels
Yeah.
like a while. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think I really like Squad Busters. That was
yeah.
the
Okay.
game that I was working on when I took a break from Clash Royale for a bit, and I worked on that for like just a little while. But I really, really enjoy that game. But I'm also playing Moko loads at the moment, so I think those two for me, like, I think Squad Busters is really unique in a way. Like, I think it's just cool that we have this game that actually has all of the Supercell characters together. It's like, that Smash Bros kind of vibe, with all the IPs coming together and all the games. And I think the characters are really cool, and that's really fun. And Moko speaks to me as well, but that's just because I'm a big like RPG or
Yeah,
ARPG player. Like,
same.
yeah,
I
so
haven't played, but I've watched a bunch of content, and
yeah,
that seems to speak to me. Like I didn't think Supercell
yeah.
would actually come up with a game in that genre, honestly. So that,
Yeah, it's really cool.
yeah,
I'm playing it at the moment, actually. Like, not on this call, but I'm playing it
I've been
like
playing the whole call, man.
it's the
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
time. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
When I get off this call, I will be playing it though. But yeah, Moko, I think is that speaks to me as like a personal like choice.
Do you get envious? It's like, okay, you're covering Clash Royale. No matter how passionate and how much love you have for Clash Royale, all these exciting new games are on the horizon. Do you ever like, can you pull a seniority card and be like, I want to be CM at this new game?
I could have been, yeah. Like,
Okay, all right.
yeah, because I could have chosen to to go on any of those games. And I think like Paula went to Squad Busters because she really wanted to, and everyone else was just like, yeah, cool, go for it. Like that's totally cool. And I think it's the same with any game. I could say, hey, I would really love to work on
cool
XYZ, and yeah, it isn't even really a seniority thing. I think it's more like a passion thing.
Okay.
Just like, yeah, I'm super into this game, I love it, like I think I could do great with it. And I think that's more important than how senior you are, I think.
That's really cool, and it's an awesome opportunity for so many creators too, because I think that you can, well, some people can cover a game forever and still enjoy it, but like other people want something fresh and exciting. And we've been working with at AMG, we've been working with Rick a lot, Crane over at Supercell, and like all the creators that I feel are poised to blow up on a new title and the work that frankly Rick and your whole team is doing with creator education and growth and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's so cool, man.
It's really cool. So, like you guys are on the forefront, of
it's
that
game changing, man. I totally agree. And like, and AMG have done a amazing job, like helping us out with all of that stuff. I think it's important to get those insights from people who actually do it for a living. To whenever like Rick and Seth like present like this stuff, like it always blows my mind. I'm like, man, this is so cool. Like if I was a creator, I would love to have this just this like library of information that is just there for me, and the support.
We've come a long way.
A company as well.
Like Supercell has come a long way, but like the cool thing is they innovated. Back when I joined, the NDA club is what we were called. The non-disclosure club is instead of the creator program or whatever. It was literally a Skype group back in 2014, and it was like Marika and I forgot, but like there was, I think there was like a dozen of us, and I think out of those dozen, I think that maybe
there's still a few of you around.
I was gonna say, I think that like in terms of daily uploads covering the same game as back then, I want to say it's only Galadon still going at it out of that old school group. But like to see how everything was done then, that was innovative back then, 10 years ago. And now it still I work with so many developers, and it still feels like Supercell, in terms of the creators and community and the work behind the scenes that not many people see, you guys are still, it might not look the same as it did 5 or 10 years ago, where we're going to Helsinki and having great times and meeting the team and partying and everything. It's also still innovation in different ways. And the cool thing is genuinely, I can't give shout outs because there's probably like dozens and dozens or maybe 100, but the smaller creators right now, especially in the mini scene, like I feel like there's the next OJs, there's like 6 of them out there, probably an unfair comparison or expectations, but you got a nice crop of people that you're already investing in, as a developer, which is really cool to see. So props.
I think, thanks so much for the kind words, dude. I think totally. I think like Abdod and Full Frontage come to mind when you say about Mini, and it's like they found their little niche and they found their group, and it's really cool to see. And then it's really nice that we're getting the opportunity to help them grow even on a beta game. But thanks for the kind words, dude. I think that's what we always want to be we always want to be like innovating and at the forefront of that kind of stuff. So
my only feedback would be like make more noise about it.
Dude, don't worry, we will when it's, I think there's a few bugs to iron out on a few things, because we want it to be like flawless and perfect, and then then we're going to be like boom, everybody.
That's awesome.
But that's Rick's job. So
for sure. For sure. Well, I'm excited for the next year and beyond. Hey, Drew, thanks so much for coming on, being open to worries, I sent you a few ideas before the call in terms of questions and stuff, and you're like, dude, I'm talking about anything. Like everything was on the table, so I really appreciate it and your openness.
No worries, man.
Let's do it again sometime, man.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate it, dude. And you're always a pleasure to talk to. So thanks for having me on the channel and having a chat. It's really good, actually. Really nice.
Yeah, indeed, man. Indeed. Guys, hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, take care, guys.